part, where is the appendix? Where is the appendix? Appendix. See, the appendix is clear. If I have to separate the appendix, I'll separate like this. Right? Can you see the appendix? Small appendix. This is the appendix, right? So I can say that this is the large intestine. So we will keep this large intestine aside, and now our part is now to identify whether this is small intestine or not. First question is whether this is a small intestine or not. Is it a small intestine or not? Small intestine, right? Now the question comes is whether it is jejunum or ileum. Which is ileum, which is jejunum. Now let us see about the small intestine, right? The small intestine contains two parts. One is called as the upper part called as the jejunum, and the lower part called as the ileum. The jejunum basically occupies the upper two. It is composed of the upper 2/5 of the small intestine, while the ileum is composed of the lower 3/5 of the small intestine. And coming to the jejunum occupies the left upper quadrant of the abdomen. I'm not discussing about the quadrants, 9 quadrants. I'm only discussing the abdomen as a whole part. So the jejunum occupies the left upper quadrant of the abdomen, while the ileum occupies the right lower quadrant of the abdomen. Now I'm telling the differences between the small jejunum and the ileum, right? Now coming to the other characteristic features of the jejunum and the ileum. So I will just take this end, hold this end, so now okay, we will see, right? I just wanted to identify which is jejunum and which is ileum. First of all, the important characteristic differences between the jejunum and ileum are, if you look at this jejunum, okay, the lumen of the jejunum is larger, while the lumen of the ileum is smaller, right? Now, if you look at the wall of the jejunum is thick, while if you see the wall of the ileum is very thin. The wall of the jejunum has got high vascularity, next difference, while the wall of the ileum has got less vascularity. It is less vascular, right? And also, in general, the jejunum is empty, while the most of the ileum is loaded with feces. Okay? And now, coming to the next differences, that is in the mesenteries. If you look at the mesentery, if you look at the mesentery of the jejunum, you can see the mesentery of the jejunum is loaded with fat, while that of the ileum is also loaded with fat. But if you look at the differences, hold here, just like this, like a curtain, right? But if you look at the differences between the mesentery of the jejunum and ileum, the mesentery of the jejunum has got less fat, while the mesentery of ileum has loaded with more fat. That is the first difference. And now, you know very well that the whole of the midgut is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery. From the superior mesenteric artery, there are few arteries which supplies the jejunum and ileum. The arteries which are supplying the jejunum are called as the jejunal arteries, while the arteries which are supplying the ileum are called as the ileal arteries. Now these arteries, once they are coming towards the jejunum and the ileum, first of all they form an arterial arcade. So it is not visible in this part because this cadaver is slightly, like obese, so you are unable to see. I can just touch and feel it here. You can see this artery. Okay. So in generally, these jejunal arteries, okay, it forms an arcade like this, an arch-like structure in the mesentery called as an arterial arcade. So the jejunal contains only one arterial arcade, while the ileum contains 3 to 6 arterial arcades. And from the arterial arcade, you can clearly see here. You can clearly see here now the vessels. From the arterial arcade, the vessels are going. These vertical vessels which are going towards the jejunum, see, this is one of the vessels which is coming from the arterial arcade towards the jejunum. These are called as vasa recta. So the vasa recta are longer and fewer in case of jejunum, that is in case of the mesentery of the jejunum, while the vasa recta are shorter and more numerous in case of the mesentery of the ileum. These are the difference, right? So these are all the differences between the jejunum and the ileum, right? Now, if you look at the mucosa, I just wanted to open it now. Shall I open it now itself? Okay, I will just open a part of the jejunum now. Scissors, I want scissors. I want scissors. And now I'm just trying to cut this jejunum, that is the proximal end of the jejunum. I've cut the jejunum. Now I just wanted to show you an interesting feature again, a differences between the jejunum and ileum. Part one. So I'm just cutting the lumen of the jejunum. Now I just wanted to open it. Now if you open this one, see, right? I will just empty this one here and just show you. Right, hold it like this. Just give the ileum. Give your ileum, not yours. Let me cut. You cut.
గట్టిగా అనిపిస్తుంది
పట్టుకున్నా మూల పట్టుకు పడేసేది. Now I'm just cutting the ileum also. Right. I'll just open the ileum and I'll just empty this part. Right. Okay. Now let us see. First we can wash this correct. ఈ ట్యాప్ కింద అది కూడా వాష్ చేసేసుకోవాలి.
వెళ్ళరా జాగ్రత్త అలా పడే.
Now coming to the interior of the jejunum and ileum. If you have already seen the interior of the jejunum and ileum, both the ileum and jejunum are showing, like mucosal folds, right?
Yes, sir.
Mucosal folds. In case of jejunum, the mucosal folds are thicker, deeper, and more numerous in number. In case of jejunum, the mucosal folds are thick, deep, and more numerous in number. While in case of ileum, they are thin and sparse, which is nothing but they are very less in number. They are thin and sparse. So these are all the differences between the jejunum and the ileum. And there are other two more structures, two more characteristic differences between the jejunum and ileum. The first difference is like within these mucosal folds, you will be seeing under the microscope of the jejunum, you will be seeing some structures called as the villi. That is the microscopic villi, right? Now very good. Okay. Now we are seeing. Thank you. Right, you can see the differences, right? See how thick they are. They are thick, but here they are thin, okay, and less sparse, right? They are very sparsely arranged, but they are thick, longer, and more, like numerous in numbers. And coming to the microvilli, the microvilli in case of jejunum are more in number, while in case of ileum are less in number. And now, from inside out of the small intestine, if you look, the layers are the mucosa, then comes the submucosa, then comes what, the circular muscle coat, and then the longitudinal muscle coat, and the outermost is the serous. So in case of like the submucosa of the jejunum, and especially in the case of the submucosa of the ileum, this is the upper part of the ileum. So here you will be microscopically you will be seeing nice small patches are seen. I cannot see now. So in case of submucosa of the ileum, you will be seeing microscopic patches which are nothing but the lymphatic aggregations called as the Peyer's patches. So the Peyer's patches are seen in case of ileum while they are absent in case of the jejunum, right? These are all the differences between the ileum and the jejunum. Now coming to the large intestine, right? We'll keep the small intestine aside and we will take the large intestine. Now starting with the large intestine, this is the large intestine. It starts at the level of like what? The cecum. And just now I have separated the appendix, right? You can see the appendix. Now there are three cardinal features of the large intestine. The most important three cardinal features of large intestine are the appendices epiploicae, the tinea coli, and the circulations, or otherwise called as hostrations. So what are these appendices epiploicae? You can see, don't think that this is completely, like, see, in case of small intestine, you are seeing the mesentery like this. But in case of large intestine, you are not seeing mesentery, but you are seeing tags of fat, right? Fat tags are seen. These tags of fat, these is nothing but called as appendices epiploicae, which are the characteristic feature of large intestine. And these appendices epiploicae are nothing but the patches of peritoneum loaded with fat. And these appendices epiploicae are basically absent over the region of the cecum. Appendix, here in case of appendix it is there, little is there, but generally it is absent. The appendices epiploicae are absent at the level of cecum, appendix, and the rectum. In the rectum region also you won't see the appendices epiploicae here in this rectum region, right? So these are the regions where you don't see the appendices epiploicae. Now coming to the tinea coli. if you look at these things, now I can make out a nice line here, right? Nice line, right? If I just keep it like this in an anatomical position for my side, so I will just remove a little part of this peritoneum. I wanted to remove this peritoneum. Pajam. So now I am keeping it in adequate position. I am removing a little bit of fat. Now if I keep it in adequate position, now we can see, I can see a nice line here, one line. And just if I am lifting here also, yes, see, I can see a second line. And if I take like this on this medial aspect, if I remove this fat on the medial aspect also, here too I can clearly see like a faint line here, right? Here, it is visible, more visible here, right? See, if you touch it, you can see a line, white line you can see, right? This is the line. So I am keeping it in anatomical position. Now let me tell about this, like tinea coli. The second characteristic feature is called as tinea coli. There are 3 tinea coli in the large intestine. They are now called with 3 names, called as the anterior one in the ascending. This is ascending colon, right? From the cecum we get the ascending colon. The anterior one is called as the tinea libera, and the posterolateral one outside. The posterolateral one which you are seeing here, this is called as tinea omentalis, and the posteromedial one here is called as tinea mesocolica. So there are 3 tinea coli, namely tinea libera on the anterior side, tinea omentalis on the posterolateral side, and tinea mesocolica on the posteromedial side. Now I am going to tell the importance of this tinea. These tinea are nothing but, these tinea coli are nothing but, they are the like small band of longitudinal muscle cord over the large intestine. They are the small bands of longitudinal muscle cord which have formed 3 bands over the large intestine. So in case of ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. So in case of ascending colon, I am telling in case of ascending colon, the tinea libera lies anteriorly, and the tinea libera lies anteriorly even in the descending colon, the same. And the tinea omentalis lies posterolaterally in case of ascending colon and descending colon. And the tinea mesocolica lies posteromedially in case of ascending colon and the descending colon. But now there is a change in the transverse colon. What happens is, like this one, whatever is there, the tinea libera which was anterior here, once the the hepatic flexure occurs, then the position of these two will change. The tinea libera which was anterior here becomes now like inferior, goes inferior, because it was anterior here, right? Once it got flexed up, it went to the inferior. So now here in case of transverse colon, the tinea libera will go inferiorly, while the tinea mesocolica, we'll see our tinea mesocolica goes posteriorly, and the tinea omentalis comes superior. So in this way, the position of the tinea coli will change in case of the transverse colon. And coming to the last structure, importance called as circulations. You can see the circulations here. The large intestine, whenever you draw large intestine, we'll draw like this, right? These circulations are nothing but like they are formed because of the circular muscle cord which is there in the large intestine. Why? Because the length of the circular muscle in case of large intestine is longer than the length of the longitudinal muscles, which means that the longitudinal muscle cord is appearing in patches. That's the reason why whenever the circular cord is coming in between, it causes these circulations are positive. And the interior, the only difference, 2 differences between the interior of the large intestine and the small intestine is that the mucosal folds in case of the small intestine, that is both jejunum and ileum, are permanent in nature, while those mucosal folds in case of large intestine are temporary in nature, and they disappear once the cecum and the ascending colon of the large intestine gets distended when it is loaded with feces. Which means that the mucosal folds in case of large intestine are not permanent, they are temporary in nature. And the second difference is, like in case of ileum, we have seen the Peyer's patches. In case of large intestine, there are no Peyer's patches. Come on, this